Welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape, which you can listen to on every single one of SB Nation's NFC East blog podcast networks. This time we are recording in our normal time slot. You can also watch this show, by the way, on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel or the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel. If you watch or listen to this show, you will see or hear the beautiful visual and audio stylings of myself, RJ Ochoa, and his self, Brandon Lee God, BLG, happy Tuesday for us, Wednesday for the listener, Friday for everyone in their hearts.
Big Sixers game tonight, RJ, between the
Uh,
Sixers and Boston Celtics.
yeah.
I'm
Setting
wearing a
up the
Sixers
Sixers
hat.
losing the finals. City of losers.
I feel extremely confident that I don't know what's going to happen. Other than I think somehow this goes to game 7, and I don't know what happens in that game 7, but for some reason, I feel like it's going to a game 7.
Okay. What's your personal stress level? And so obviously everyone knows the result of this game by the time they're listening to or watching this episode. But so like put it in Eagles Phillies terms. Like was every game of the World Series more stressful than this? Is this more stressful than that? Is this more stressful than the NFC Championship game? Like kind of, give us a sandwich this for us.
Sandwich this for you. What's the best sandwich, RJ? Think about that while I give you.
I have a food question that I'm going to get to as well, by the way. But go ahead.
So the thing with the Phillies is that they were in the World Series while the Eagles were still undefeated. So there's a little less pressure because it's like, oh, if the Phillies lose, the Eagles are undefeated and look like they can go to the Super Bowl. So that's definitely a different dynamic here.
There was a lot of that I saw around that time that was like, well, it's okay that we lost the World Series because we'll just win the Super Bowl. Like it was like you could totally decide that. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot
I
of
did
that
say on the show that it felt pretty impossible they would win both, and I was not wrong because they did not win either. But yeah, it's stressful in the moment. I think more so. Some people are like dreading it all day. I'm not there. It's when the game is on and it's getting to like it was in Game 4, where the Sixers need to like make a last minute shot or whatever. It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm just ready to keel over. It's a lot.
Okay. Best sandwich. I don't know how polarizing this is in your specific neck of the woods. I like a good Primanti Brothers sandwich. You put some French fries on that thing. Like I have a hard
The fries
time
aren't
not
good.
really enjoying that.
They don't
That's
make
not
good
true.
fries. It
That's
is
not
true. I've had it. I
So
love
not true.
food. I don't want to trash food. I had it. I was looking forward to it. I thought I was going to love it. And maybe it was just, I'll go back. I'll give it a second try. But when I went to Pittsburgh and I had it, the fries weren't even good, man. They weren't like cooked right or what. I don't know. There just was not a lot of flavor in that sandwich. There's some of the, for a place that puts fries in their sandwich, and fries is like the star thing on their menu. They were some of the worst fries I've had. And I'm so bummed because I wanted it to be good. I will give it another try in the future. But right now, man, I cannot disagree more.
I really don't know. That's why I'm asking. Do they not have them outside of Pittsburgh? Like, is it not like a Pennsylvania thing? Like, or is it only in the Pittsburgh area?
It's mainly Pittsburgh. I think they've branched out
Okay.
a little bit. I don't know any locations super close to Philly. There might be one. I don't know of that. But I had mine like down. I think it was like the original location, like in Pittsburgh. So I didn't
Okay.
even go to like some satellite location where it might not be as good. And by the way, the correct answer we are looking for is a Cuban sandwich. I think that's a great sandwich.
Just for what it's worth, and I know you agree with this, a lot of food and food experiences, and I guess food memories is associated with the vibe that you have, obviously, when you eat that specific meal. When I ate my Primanti Brothers sandwich, it was like a cool, like 58 degrees. You know what I mean? Like just cool enough to kind of like be cold. Slightly. I had a cup of chili too. Like I was there for the Cowboys Steelers game. Like it was just an incredible vibe. And so like maybe that's enhancing the like memory of the taste to me. So if I had it again, maybe it wouldn't be that great. That's my point. Are you ready for my food question, Mr. Cuban Sandwich?
Yep.
I actually stole this from Reddit. This was on the Ask subreddit. What's the most unusual food combination that you've tried and actually enjoyed? Would you like me to read you some of the answers just so you can get an idea on what the things people suggested
Let's hear the answers.
These are just the top ones, the most upvoted one. Somebody said, I've been told cream cheese and jelly sandwiches are weird, but I've enjoyed them since I was a child.
That doesn't sound like crazy because I feel like you could get a like a stuffed French toast with
There's a comment responding to that, and this was not pre-planned, but there's literally a response to that. It says there's a famous Cuban sandwich called the Elena Ruse sandwich with cream cheese, jam, and turkey. So that's one answer. Let's see here. Somebody said
have you ever
butter
seen
on
Sandwiches of History? That guy on Instagram. Go check him out.
Um, Somebody said peanut butter on a hamburger. That sounds awful. Somebody said chocolate covered potato chips. I first saw them and thought,
Yeah,
ew, gross. They're each great, but not together. But a coworker insisted I try one from her bag, so I did and was pleasantly surprised. I could see the like salt and sweet kind of coalescing.
I've had that. Those are good, and also they're chocolate chips.
That's a good point. Waffles with sausage gravy.
Yeah, that's like not a weird thing at all. I mean, you do like chicken and waffles, and you have sausage gravy over the top of like all of that. Again, that makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah. The ones we've done, I'm not, the first one was a little weird. This one's too far for me. Peanut butter and pickles go surprisingly well together, is what one person said.
I don't. It seems too separate. Like I don't know that I like. Does that incorporate at all? You're just eating two different things. Like, do those flavors actually like or experiences complement each other and work together in some way? Or is it
Um,
you're literally just eating 2 entirely different things at once?
I, so I saw this the other day and I bookmarked it so I could come back here or come back to it for this specific episode. And I thought this that day. This one says watermelon with salt. Is that not a common thing? I do that all the time.
What?
Like I don't ever eat watermelon like if I'm at home without salt.
What do you mean?
Like I get my
This
watermelon
is
and I
a
sprinkle
common
some salt on
thing?
there. Do
But,
you not
like,
do
what
that?
kind of salt? And, like, how are you slice it up?
Standard salt. Like I don't
But
like bathe it in salt, but I add a sprinkle of salt to it.
sprinkle?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
You
salt, so
don't
I'm not
do that?
opposed to it, but I didn't know this is, like, a thing. I didn't know is anyone out there doing that? Hashtag,
La
hashtag
hashtag
watermelon salt.
mixtape watermelon. That's what we want for this
No.
one.
Hashtag
Okay,
watermelon salt.
two more. Hot sauce. This person has like two things. Hot sauce on popcorn. I think that's pretty common, or like not common, but like people put weird stuff on popcorn. And then somebody said savory porridge with cheese, hot sauce, and salami.
Mm, I don't know.
Um, okay, let's finish this one because you're a Mr. Pizza guy. Somebody said I had a slice of pizza with pickle slices and light ranch. That surprised me with how well it worked. That I'm not like a fan of pickles, but I feel like that is pretty common. Like there's fried pickles, people dip those in ranch. Like that's not a weird thing to me.
Pickles on pizza is very good to me.
Okay, well, shout out to me for that subject. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Did you?
I think the listeners enjoyed it the most. I wanted to do, by the way, I don't know how realistic this is or what the setup is for this. I feel like we need to
Cookbook
do.
with NFC East Mixtape recipes. Yes, I'm
That's
down.
exactly what I was thinking. But in addition to that, we need to do an episode where it's like actual sports radio, where we take calls, some of the callers. I think that would be fun.
Um, I'm fine with that. We can go to
You're
like
fine with it. You don't want to hear from the people?
Like Lonnie and Massapequa or whatever. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Hmm,
You ever been
I
to
think that would be
Massapequa?
fun. No, but if you're into that idea,
I feel like all of the East Coast cities are like one. So if you've been to one, you've been to them all. But
it's not true at all.
anyway, so we're recording this. This is like a scheduling note, and I say that in an inception sort of way. We're recording this on Tuesday, May 9th. This is dropping Wednesday, May 10th. On Thursday, May 11th, the NFL is dropping the 2023 NFL schedule. There was a little bit of touch and go-ness as far as whether or not the league was actually going to drop the schedule on Thursday. That was something that Jeremy Reisman and I discussed on Monday Football Monday on the SB Nation NFL show, where we talked about games we are looking forward to across the league as a whole. He and I both had an Eagles game on there. So you and I are going to kind of do that here. Games of note, games of seriousness, games of intrigue, et cetera, as they relate to the NFC Beast. And we called the division that you and I do originally because it is full of very good teams. And so we also have each ranked the 12 composite games that take place within the division. And we can, I guess, describe what our like criteria was with how we rank them. So where do you want to start? You have a list of best and worst games. Is that correct?
Mhm.
I guess before we do that, we should say, obviously, maybe we should do the like, how does the schedule come from, or where does it come from? Because a lot of people don't know that. Actually, I feel like.
A real quick point on the NFC Beast thing.
Wow.
Once upon a time, I don't know if I shared this story with you before, but um, obviously it's a bit that we do, and I'm breaking the fourth wall of the bit by saying it's a bit here. But
Mm-hmm.
once upon a time, the NFL was not too happy that BGN Radio, we referred to ourselves as the only Eagles podcast because they were thinking we were claiming to literally be the only Philadelphia Eagles podcast. So
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how we joke about this, and maybe in the future they'll be like, "Actually, you guys didn't invent that, and you can't say that." So hopefully not, because it's a good bit.
Um,
That,
in case
but
the NFL or I guess the NSA is listening, we recognize that other people use the term NFC Beast, but whatever. Anyway,
we still make it.
okay. So every single team in the NFL, Brandon, plays 17 games as a result of 2 years ago. This is our third season with the 17th game added as a part of the rotation. Since the NFL's realignment in 2002, the schedule has been pretty standard, pretty chalk if you understand the formula. Let's take the Eagles as an example. They are the team we talk about first year on the mixtape this offseason as the current champions of the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles, as a part of the NFC East, will play 6 division games. All 3 of their division rivals at home, all 3 of their division rivals on the road. That is 6. Every division, so now we're looking at the NFC East, will play 2 divisions across the NFL. One from their conference, one from the opposing conference. In case anybody is unaware, this year the NFC East plays the NFC West and the AFC East. If you're wondering which games of those are at home and which games of those are on the road, they're just the inverse of the last time the NFC East played these divisions. So the last time the NFC East played the NFC West was 2020. So whichever 2 teams your team traveled to, you now get to host. The last time the NFC East played the AFC East was 2019. Same sort of thing there. That takes us to 14 games. So we have to get 3 more. As the NFC East plays the NFC West, they do play one team from both the NFC North and the NFC South. They play the same place finishers from the season prior. So the Philadelphia Eagles, as mentioned, won the NFC East, which means they will play the Minnesota Vikings as well as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 2 teams who won the non-NFC West divisions within the NFC. Which of those games are at home?
I don't know. This is boring
The
and drawn
NFC
out.
North games. The NFC North games are the ones at home. Finally, as a result of the NFL's added 17th game, I do think we're probably heading towards an 18th game, right? Like just for a clean 17th, such a weird number. But anyway, every division plays a same place finisher from a division in the opposite conference. So everyone's aware that the Eagles will play the Chiefs this year. That is because the NFC East same place finishers play the AFC West same place finishers. Obviously, the Eagles and Chiefs, besides meeting at the Super Bowl, both happen to have won their respective divisions. The Cowboys will play the Chargers, the Giants will play the Raiders, the Commanders will play the Broncos, who did not ride. I think that covers it. That's the formula. Good job.
All right, so I had not the best and worst, actually. I had the top home and top away game for each team. Because why talk about the worst? I mean, that doesn't have a lot of juice.
So this is top home and top away game for each team in the division. This is your list. I have a few questions. One, does it include divisional matchups, or did you
No.
try to stay away from that?
No divisional
Okay,
matchups,
so
and I think part of that is actually, like, true. I think it's not like I had to, "Oh, this is the clear top," and then I had to deviate away from that for the most part.
Okay, so this does not include divisional matchups. So you're taking away 3 right
Mhm.
away for each team. Did you define top as far as like juice, as far as like
Yeah,
team you would enjoy
juice,
watching
probably.
the most? Like, okay,
Which one has the most juice? Which one are you most interested to watch or see or could have the most meaning? We'll start it off with the Philadelphia Eagles, and you kind of touched on this on the aforementioned SB Nation NFL show, RJ. The Eagles' top home game, it's obviously the San Francisco 49ers in NFC Championship game rematch. The 49ers have done nothing but run their mouths since losing to the Eagles and act like they would have definitely 100% won the game if Brock Purdy had not gotten hurt. It's kind of interesting how you're able to afford yourselves that headcanon when something happens like the Purdy injury. It's like, whoa, oh, we definitely, it's just like fact to them. It's like, well, oh, yeah, we would have won like 100%. It wasn't even going to be
right.
close
Like if the field at the Super Bowl had been different, you absolutely would have won.
in a game
Right.
that they lost by 24 points, and that's much different. The 49ers are, for all their faults, I guess, and I don't know, they seem like they kind of have a wide range of outcomes depending on what actually happens. And is Sam Darnold the starter this season? Maybe. We don't know, but I think it has to be them. They're the Eagles' top home game.
Yeah, so what I mentioned on the NFL show was right now the Eagles are king of Petty Mountain, right? Like they are, and like I said this on the show, like if you win, you like history is written by the winners. We say that all the time here. So I don't want to just like relitigate my point, but um, if you're an Eagles fan, you have every right to like kind of like shut down Debo Samuel, like whatever he's saying, blah blah blah. I mean, I get it, and I said this then, and we talked about it with stats. Like I get feeling frustrated, like it was a lost opportunity or whatever. If you're a Niners fan or a Niners player, and there's no doubt of contention or an argument that had Brock Purdy played, like maybe the Niners win that game. It isn't a fact to your point, but yeah. So I'm all in on certain narratives. Yielding themselves true or false this coming season. And there are three examples to me with regards to the Eagles. And I don't want to take your thunder, but the Niners game is one of them because if the Niners roll into town with Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy or whatever, and just like, I don't even want to say like blank the Eagles, but if they beat them, then it does feed that narrative. And, it will lead to more bickering and arguing or whatever. And also similarly, if they lose, then it's like, man, you did all this complaining, all this talking, and like
Yeah.
that week will be filled with a lot of stuff. Then it's like, well, you did all that talking and you still lost. So like you were wrong then, you're wrong now. So I'm excited to have like a definitive answer one way or another as a result of this specific game.
Looks like it's a lot of downside for them. Doesn't feel like much upside. You can be like, "Oh, we definitely would have won in the championship," but you didn't still. And also, now you just look like really dumb if you come in here and lose. That'd be a big L to take. I think they've put more pressure on themselves unnecessarily so to win that game. Are you ready to hear my top away game? Can you possibly guess
Uh,
what it would be?
I actually was going to say, and I was going to ask if I could guess them all because this was your list.
Okay,
So
sure.
let me
I mean,
pull
this
up
one's very
their.
obvious.
It's the Chiefs.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, I will say, I mean, in a way, it's one of the Eagles. Like, it's just by measure of tiebreakers and whatnot, it's one of the Eagles' most meaningless games because
Yeah,
it's obviously huh? You don't agree
I
with
said
that?
yeah. No,
Yeah. So like,
that wasn't sarcastic. Like if my team has to lose 5 games, lose all 5 AFC games.
right,
Like
exactly,
this isn't
and
like a debate. This is common sense.
it's just like the storylines and everything. It's so much bigger than the actual meaning of the outcome of that one game. It's the same thing I just said with the 49ers, but applied to the Eagles. If the Eagles beat the Chiefs, it's not like you don't get the Lombardi. They didn't win the Super Bowl. So I don't really know what that proves. Like, because it's not like, oh, the Eagles got blown out. They can't even hang with the Chiefs in the Super. That wasn't the case. Like, I believe I think anyone would agree they could have won the Super Bowl, right? They lost by 3 points. It's not like they were never going to win. Like, no, they had a chance. It came down to the wire. So I don't really know what winning accomplishes in the bigger scheme. Maybe you can feel a little bit better about yourselves, but it still
That's
has a
all
lot
it
of
is.
it
I
has a
mean,
lot of
like just to
juice from the
go ahead.
standpoint of it's Andy Reid, it's the Super Bowl rematch. Like it's a big storyline game, which is why I put it in the top spot. But if we want to say it's overrated, I could also look at the Aaron Rodgers game against the Jets. The Eagles have never lost to the Jets ever in at any point in any time, and I think the Seahawks is like a sneaky one. I think that's kind of going to be it could be an interesting matchup with Seattle. I think potentially is taking a step forward this year, assuming Gino doesn't fall off the cliff. And Eagles haven't won in Seattle since 2008, so it's been a long time.
Really?
Yeah,
That was Matt Hasselbeck still? I think no, not at that point. Maybe
I think it had to
2008.
be. I meant to look up the quarterback. Here, I'll look that up while you give me your
Um,
analysis on the Eagles'
I
top
think
road
all of these
matchup.
are relevant options. I actually think the Chiefs game, if you're an Eagles fan, no matter what happens, is a letdown. You know what I mean? Like even if the Chiefs go in and win by like 30 points, it's just like frustration. You know, it's just like
You're saying it's
okay,
like a no-win situation almost,
right? Exactly. Like
other than
um,
like to check a box, like okay, we beat them,
yeah, but
but
it's
so
like
what?
it will offer no like you won't feel like even like 1% better. You know what I mean? Than you did rather than you feel right now. Like
I
I
will
that's my
say
belief.
well, unless they like if the Eagles get like 10 sacks in that game, and it's like,
But
oh, the field
that's what
was
I
the issue all along, then
That's what I
there is
brought
kind
up
of
with Jeremy. Like
yeah.
that's one. So the three narrative games, and you didn't mention this one, and I don't think it's a good game, but the three like narratives that will be proven one way or another with the Eagles are the Niners thing, the field thing with. But if the Eagles lose and they don't get a single sack, I think they'll be like, well, it's the Chiefs' field. We would totally sack Mahomes 10 times at the
No, come
league. Blah
on.
blah
I
blah.
don't think anyone is
Um,
saying that.
and
Unless it's like
I
very obvious that it's terrible, like it was in the Super
From
Bowl.
a content standpoint, I would love for Juju Smith-Schuster to have like 200 yards on the Eagles. Just like I would love that so much.
Mac
But I
Jones
mean,
is
I recognize like the idea of the Chiefs getting 0 sacks or the idea of the Niners beating the Eagles in Philly is way more likely, each of those things, than Juju like going off against the Eagles. So, but
Seneca
it is
Wallace
a
was the quarterback this year.
wow,
Yeah.
wow, oh my gosh. That how many times have the Eagles played there since 2008?
It's not a
Um,
ton. One only 3. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I am all for making Seattle like a formidable place to play again. Like that, those were some really fun times when like it was like, oh, like X team is in Seattle on like prime time. Like that was always a really good game. One of the Cowboys'
Something
marquee wins in the Romo era was in Seattle.
something I had heard about the Seahawks, like back when I started covering the Eagles. So this is, Legion of Boom days. I don't know if I ever told you about this. Was like there was actually a belief in the NFL that the Seahawks themselves believed they could not be defeated. Like they were like they had. So the point there is they NFL. I know that might sound silly or laughing, but like NFL people in the league had never seen a team so confident. Like the players and everything. Like they were just like, and I think it scared them. I think it scared other teams. Like the other teams are like, this team doesn't think they can lose.
I don't know if you remember the game I'm talking about. The Cowboys win there in 2014.
I do.
It was a huge win. It was like kind of the statement win of the season, but like it felt like that was their first loss since winning the Super Bowl there. I mean, it
Yeah,
was October, so it wasn't like 100 games or anything, but like it was this like holy crap, somebody won at
exactly.
Seattle type of
That's
thing.
what made it such a big deal.
Like and the actually that Super Bowl season, I think they played the Saints in the divisional round. And I remember before that game, like this was pre Jimmy Graham trade, obviously. Like Jimmy Graham and all of them were like kind of talking. And I was like, you guys are just that's a horrible idea. Yeah, this is not the place for you guys to act,
Mhm.
any sort of way. Like you're about to lose this game, and they did, obviously. I think the Chiefs is the right pick. The Jets one, I said this to Jeremy on the show. I don't get the juice with the Jets. I have a personal vendetta against Aaron Rodgers as a Cowboys fan, but like the Jets story to me is so like lame. Like I don't feel the Jets is like a juicy team, but they will get obviously shoved down our throats from a primetime standpoint. Eagles Seahawks should be great. I hope it is because I want to see the Seahawks do well. But I think the Chiefs is the right answer for obvious reasons. My last question on this, and I guess we'll get to your listings for other teams. Do you want this week one? This is a weird situation. Like, I could see it like just get it done, get it over with. Like, and you're
Yep.
probably gonna lose if it's like banner night. Just get it out of the way right away and give us the week and a half to get ready for week 2.
I feel like you have to put it early in the season. And there's a rumor out there, or maybe a
Mm-hmm.
report from Jason Kelsey's mom, Donna Kelsey, that Eagles Chiefs is going to be week 2. We'll see if that's actually true or not. But it makes sense to me. You'd want to put it as early as possible because it loses more meaning the deeper it goes into the season. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares? Like, that was last season, especially if one team proves to be not very good. It's like that you're just
Mm-hmm.
losing all the juice of a Super Bowl matchup. Whereas if you have it at the very beginning, you still have that juice still left over from last season. So you have to do it. I mean, I wish they would do it as the home opener. I think that's the perfect home opener, but it sounds like they're not going to do that. Or the season opener, the kickoff game. It doesn't sound like they're going to do that, but it might be week 2.
I wonder, what you're talking about is Mrs. Kelsey. Miss Kelsey said what she did on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
But all she said was it was Chiefs Eagles week 2 at Arrowhead, right? And like
Hmm.
we know that game is at Arrowhead, like that's not breaking news. I'm gonna guess, and so this is purely a guess that is a Thursday night football game. Sometimes and that's the Amazon kickoff game. So I don't know if you recall, the Chiefs hosted the Chargers last year in the first Amazon broadcast. That was week 2 Thursday night football. So I don't think they would put the Chiefs on Thursday night football. It's not Thursday night football to broadcast, but they would not have them
Hmm.
open the season on a Thursday night and then play on Thursday night football 1 week later. So my guess is if Chiefs Eagles truly is week 2, that is we know the NFL is catering to Amazon. They're doing everything they can to give them, high value, high price games, whatever, give them all the viewership, blah, blah, blah. I bet that is the week 2 Thursday night football kickoff on Amazon Prime, but I bet the Chiefs play on Sunday night football the week before. We've seen that
Hmm.
happen in rare circumstances. I think the Patriots did it one year where they didn't play the season opener. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember. I think it was the league's 100th year, which was the first Chiefs Super Bowl season. The Bears and Packers opened that that season, that Thursday night. And then the Patriots played, I think, the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, did the banner and all that stuff. I think that's what happens. I think we get the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football week 1, and then Thursday Night Football on Amazon, and here come the Eagles, et cetera, et cetera. I think that would really upset you having to go right into a short week after week 1.
I mean, especially if it was against the Super Bowl matchup. I know it said the game doesn't mean as much at the end of the
But yeah,
day,
because
but like,
but then it makes week 1 a little bit trickier, because then it's like you're looking past, not looking, but you know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, let's get through week 1 so we can go get through this week 2 game. You know what I mean? Like blah blah blah.
mm,
So that's my official prediction. But okay, let's get to your most juicy whatever Cowboys road and away games. I guess I'm gonna guess all these. Do you want to do
sure.
road or home first?
We'll start with the home for each team. So guess the home game.
I think you picked the Jets. I think you had to have,
I'm between the Jets and the Lions in this.
or
I
the
put Jets
Lions.
or Lions. I need your help
Yeah.
picking it. The Jets, the Aaron Rodgers angle is obvious. I was just rewatching the Packers win over the Cowboys. I just randomly turned on NFL Network the other day and I rewatched that game and I'm like, how did the how did the Packers win this game? So that was fun to rewatch.
They ran the ball. That's why the Cowboys drafted Mozzie Smith, because they just ran the ball at will in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter,
but
and the
also at
Cowboys
the end, I
collapsed
mean,
in the right way around that.
I forgot like that the Cowboys were driving late in the game, and then they get that big holding penalty on, was it Tyler Smith, and then they had the turnover on downs on fourth down. I
And then
forgot
they
about
had
that.
the illegal formation on their rookie wide receiver
Right.
in overtime, and that just set everything up poorly.
So it's tough for me to pick because there's the Rodgers angle, but I guess we just saw that. I think the Lions, that might hold more juice in terms of that's an actually potentially meaningful game for the NFC playoff picture in the standings. That could be a tiebreaker that's valuable for either a wild card spot or divisional seeding or whatever. So I think that one could have a lot of juice. What say you on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Lions one to me maybe becomes the answer, but it's contingent upon where it's placed. If it's week 3, it's kind of hard to, see that like being a game you're like totally getting up for.
Hmm.
If it, like, the Cowboys have played the Lions at home in December a few times, if that's the case, like that offers the opportunity for not just it to hold the tiebreaker, weight you talked about, but also for the Lions to do it, right? Like to live up to the hype. Like, because if they don't, you know what I mean, even if it is in December, then it's like, well, you're just the team that everybody gassed up that like failed. So yeah, but I think the answer has, dude, they've never beaten Aaron Rodgers in that building ever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And this is Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy again, and Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, both on different teams, and Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy in the building that Aaron Rodgers has never lost in, the same building where they won the Super Bowl together. You know what I mean? Like, I will say this:
And
there's a lot of people,
also the divorce of Rodgers from, like, it's not just the Packers beating McCarthy. It's like
right?
it's Aaron Rodgers himself.
Yeah, that's a great call. And last time, like, it was McCarthy at Lambeau, so that was like a
Mhm.
big factor too. Like this is now like, diluted of all that. It's just McCarthy, just Rogers. McCarthy's calling plays now. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah,
a little
true.
bit more to and from, in my opinion. There, a lot of people think this will be the Thanksgiving Day game. If
Mm.
I'm in charge of this, why do that? You know what I mean? I think you agree, Cowboys, whoever on Thanksgiving Day will be the most watched regular season game of the year. You do not have to burn this massive game we're talking about on, like, in that spot. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with the logic, what you're saying, but, like, I think they overthink that sometimes. Why not put a big juicy game in the biggest match? Like, what's wrong? Make it even better. Make it even bigger. Make and reward the fans or reward the people who are watching with the
Mm.
best potential possible matchup. I don't like that's I hate that thinking when it comes to not having Eagles Cowboys in week 1, which I might have to write an article about because like I just think I've talked about that many times here. It just annoys me, like because they don't want to do it. To go, we can't burn that in week 1 or whatever, especially if it's a 1 o'clock game. It's like, how about this? How about you do it once because we barely get any Jalen Hurts versus Dak Prescott meaningful games. Like, how about you just guarantee you get one of those?
Mm. Okay, that's fair. You've kind of sold me. I do want to say I talked about the like outlining of the schedule a little while ago. This is the first year I find this stuff interesting that so forever, basically. I guess in the era of cable television or network cable television, um, NFC games have primarily been on Fox, right? It's generally been Fox broadcast. There are the exceptions.
Mhm.
Obviously, when the Eagles host an AFC team or the Cowboys host an AFC team, that CBS will get those games. Obviously, primetime is a different story. Um, and AFC teams have belonged to CBS. Those are no longer the cases. Like now there are no sort of conference lines with broadcast partners. So like I think the Cowboys and Eagles will both be on CBS a lot more for standard noon or 3 p.m. kickoffs in windows where they normally would have been on Fox, is my point. So we'll see how that shakes out. The Cowboys road game, I'm going to guess you pick the Chargers. Like that has to be the one that you went
Look,
for.
it has to be.
Yeah.
What else would it be? I mean, it's the Kellen Moore revenge game. It's your personal battle against Justin Herbert, which you will be super excited about if the Cowboys beat the Chargers, but also will be devastated if they lose to Justin Herbert. So it has to be that.
I mean, I guess if the Chiefs don't open on Sunday Night Football, which is a theory I just birthed a little while ago, I think this is the Week 1 Sunday Night Football game. Cowboys.
Mm.
We know the NFL loves to put the Cowboys in LA. Chargers, you said it. Kellen Moore versus Dan Quinn. You know what I mean? Like Kellen Moore versus Micah Parsons, or however you want to lay it out. It feels like everybody forgot the Chargers blew this massive playoff lead, so they're kind of like just chilling, hanging out there. A lot of people would say Cowboys Niners as far as road games are concerned. But to me, that's kind of like the Eagles Chiefs thing. I mean, on a lower level, it's like, okay, cool. You go win there like in week 6. Like, does that make you feel better? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really do much for me. I think it's the Bills.
I tried to stay away from doubling up on each team. I already picked the 49ers for the Eagles, so I don't think it's fun if I also pick them for every other team too, or another team.
I would pick the Bills though. Because I think the Cowboys and the Bills are foils of one another, but I think they've taken like different paths this offseason. And there's the Bills traded up because they thought the Cowboys were going to draft Dalton Kincaid. You know what I mean? They went and got him. So like there's a little bit of stuff going on there. Plus Sean McDermott, if there's one person who owns the Cowboys, it's Sean McDermott. And that really bothers me. But it's not just like Sean McDermott. I've mentioned this to you many times, like a student of the Jim Johnson, discipleship. You know what I mean? Like he is the dude, Sean McDermott, who has always been able to kind of thwart Cowboys quarterbacks, namely Tony Romo, but obviously Dak Prescott's in that mix now. This game doesn't mean as much to your point as it's a AFC, NFC sort of thing. But there's a lot of history there, the 2 Super Bowls, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people liken Dak Prescott to Josh Allen in terms of volatility and things like that. Like, I think it would be a statement and it would be like a nice chip for Cowboys fans, for Dallas to go to Buffalo and to just like drop them and be like, see, like NFL media, you gas this team up and you disrespect us or whatever. So like that would be my answer personally.
The atmosphere is also going to be better, obviously, than the Chargers. That's not really any fault, I think, of Chargers fans who've been kind of mistreated over the years, but it's just obviously going to be better in Buffalo.
Okay, so you ready to do the Giants?
We'll take a break, maybe? Or do you want to take the break later?
Let's go ahead and take a break to your word from our sponsors. While we were gone, Brandon.
Those were some great words.
You had a cream cheese and jelly sandwich. How was it?
I wish. No, I didn't. And actually, cream cheese, yes, but jelly.
Oh, what was it? Was it not cream cheese that I said?
You said cream cheese.
No, the person who did that sandwich in the Reddit thing. Was it cream cheese? I already forgot.
I think you said that.
Was it cream cheese or sour cream?
I think you said cream cheese, but maybe you meant sour cream.
I don't know, but I do want to say something that I wouldn't say recently realized, but I think a food that nobody dislikes: jalapeno poppers.
I love them. Well, that's not true. They're too spicy for some people.
That's fine, but like the composition, like the idea of it all is wonderful. You know what I mean? Like
I think it's great.
Every element of it is like perfect and immaculate.
Yeah, we got people who can't eat dairy though too.
That's fair.
The cream cheese or the cheese.
Outside of like restrictions from a dietary or like preference standpoint, like the spice thing, it is like the perfect thing because you've got the spicy sweet, you've got the crisp of the bacon. Like jalapeno poppers rock. That's my stance.
Some people think black pepper is too spicy, which it's just no, it's not.
Okay, I think we should put this thing down, flip it, and reverse it, Missy Elliott style, and do road games you're most juiced for the Commanders and Giants first. We'll do the Giants first, obviously, but do road then home if you're down.
Well, who do you think I have for the Giants top away matchup?
Outside of divisional matchups, just so everyone's aware, they visit New Orleans, Vegas, Arizona, San Francisco, Miami, and Buffalo. You may have gone Buffalo because you didn't do that for Dallas, so kind of reading the tea leaves. But I'm gonna guess you went Miami. You're a big Dolphins guy. You're a big Tua person. Daniel Jones against them. Mike McDaniel against them. That's gonna be my guess that you went with the Dolphins.
I wrote Bills parentheses or Dolphins or Raiders. So I think it has to be the Bills because the Bills are like, oh, we're the real team that plays in New York, which is a fair claim because that is actually factually
Why did you
true.
say it mockingly?
But it's kind of funny because it's like, okay, we get it. Like, and I've seen it. It's like, all right, I get
it
the
is
joke.
kind of a loser thing. Like it's true, but it is kind of loserish. I
Well,
think.
if you have to say it, is it like is it cool if you like have to say it if you have to point it out like that?
Also, the Brian Dable stuff, which I kind of like glossed over, and Joe Shane. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly.
a huge factor here.
And I think that's kind of like a big, especially depending if where it is in the season. But it could be like, okay, we're legit. Like we beat the Bills. The Bills were like the thing we were trying to become when we're rebuilding here, and we just beat that team. So
Right.
I think that
Good
would
call.
be like a big like everyone like Good Morning Football. Peter Schrager's on there. He's like look at the Giants. Like it gets that's the game that gets the national. I like Peter Schrager by the way. That's a compliment. I'm not trying to mock him. I could just see it happening. So I think that's the kind of game. I thought the Dolphins because like that's kind of a team that's similar positioned to where the Giants are, and like okay, like they're on the cusp of making the playoffs, like or they're that wild card territory kind of team, but like are they going to break through? So maybe if you do beat that team, like okay, you're that team that actually is emerging as opposed to this team that might emerge. And the only reason I included the Raiders in there, I guess, is the Patrick Graham factor of it all. The Giants' former defensive coordinator. I thought there could be like a little revenge game there, but I don't know.
I mean, like, can you name a road game for any team that happened in Vegas that was like memorable in your mind? Like you said that like you were the other day you watched the Cowboys game at Lambeau last year. Like we
Mhm.
can name a million games that have like had
Well, the
that.
Patriots game.
Well, I guess that's fair, but you get my point, right? Like, and it's a newer stadium, so I recognize that. But like, I'm talking like non-Eagles games. You can think of like great venues that have had a lot of awesome games. Like that doesn't really happen in Vegas. So, like, I'm not, that doesn't like get me pumped. Like, it doesn't like offer the like ooh Vegas vibes that I think a lot of people do.
It
Whereas
is fitting that like one of the luckiest end to play games ever happened in Vegas, though. Like
that's
that
true.
did with
Um,
with was it Jacoby Myers throwing the ball to Chandler Jones?
there are very few things I feel like we've reached like we're over 100 years worth of NFL history, and like there are very few things that you can actually say like I've never seen that before. That was one of those times where like you could honestly be like I've literally never seen this happen before. That was incredible.
That's like
Um,
something that happens in a sports movie.
right. I would offer Buffalo as the answer.
Okay.
And especially like the Patrick Graham thing is fair, but the Josh Allen, Daniel Jones part of the Brian Dable-ness, like I recognize that Brian Dable is not the Giants defensive coordinator, but like if the Giants go and like inhibit Josh Allen, that would really kind of feed like Josh Allen. And again, I mentioned Cowboys fans kind of sensitive to this, had a rocky season last year. Like, and we talked about that a lot here on the mixtape, but like his first year away from Brian Dable, like all sorts of turnovers. So like if that happens again, while Daniel Jones, like I wouldn't even say like he has to go off, but if Daniel Jones has like a productive game, it becomes this matter of like Brian Dable really is the like factor that's at play here. Josh, you're really struggling without him. Look
Mhm.
at Daniel Jones since he got there. They got the win. They're the real team in Buffalo or in New York. Their hats are their hats, goodness gracious. Their helmets say New York, blah, blah, blah. The New York football giants. Like, I'm here for the trolling. The home game,
Mhm.
I think this would be very chalk for you all the way around, considering you went Bills. I think it's the Jets. Like you got to have Giants Jets. Like now you've got a juicy Giants Jets game for the first time in a while. This has to be the one, the MetLife Bowl.
I don't know what else you would pick here. The Giants' home schedule isn't like chock full of super intriguing options to me. Like
Yeah, they all stink.
the
Maybe the
Packers
Seahawks, but
without the Jordan Love Packers, the Patriots. Okay, no, the Seahawks you could pick, but like I feel like we've seen some Giants Seahawks matchups in recent years. That's not something particularly new or interesting. I think it has to be the Jets. Here's the question: when's the last time we had a Jets Giants game with like actual juice? When was that? These are the two
um,
teams, as we said, like going into last year, who both were tied for the worst record in the NFL, and now they have. I don't know how promising their outlooks are, but they're certainly a lot better than they were. And I think this is the most juicy New York rivalry matchup we've had in years.
um, I think like I can't even really like close my mind and think of like a moment, not even just a game, but like the only moment I really think of And I don't recall it being a great game, but was the Victor Cruz, whatever it was, like 80-yard touch. You know, I'm talking about in 2011 during the Giants' second Super Bowl season. Like that's the only like moment I can envision between the Giants and Jets. Plus, I never really loved those Jets uniforms, the white helmets. I know they were the classic ones, but
Mhm.
like I didn't really like them. Like this is a good contrast. You know, it's still a little bit. It's not beautiful, but like I'm down for this. So I will say I like when teams visit stadiums they won the Super Bowl in. So the Seahawks visit MetLife this year. Like I have to imagine when the Eagles visit Minnesota, you're like, Eagles won the Super Bowl here. You know, like it's got to be like a little bit of a cooler thing. So like that's a cool game to me. Plus it's the Seahawks, which I'm in on. But yeah, these games stink. I'm past the point of like being interested in Giants Patriots games. The Patriots do visit
Yeah.
the Giants,
That's
obviously.
too
Like
far
they're
removed.
yeah. So these were good answers. Good job. Okay, let's do
Well, I'm not
road
done yet.
game.
I was thinking, like,
Wow.
do you
Wow.
buy into? 'Cause I think this is a real thing. Like, I think depending again when it happens and everything, I think the Jets and the Giants are going to be kind of competing for who's the talk of the town. I think that's where they are in the stage of that. And I think I could be wrong, but I think the Giants kind of lead the way more. You know, like kind of like the Yankees, I presume, do more than the Mets do. The Giants are just more ubiquitous than the Jets are. The Jets are like the upstart team. The Mets are the upstart team, but like if Aaron Rodgers puts a spanking on the Giants, I think that kind of swings the things. Everyone's going to be talking on a W fan about the Jets.
Um, Also the Giants kind of like I don't say statement, but like, hey, start taking this seriously win was it in London? The London win over the
True.
Packers. You know what I mean? So this would
Yeah.
kind of be going full circle there. Okay, Commanders ones because we still have to do our ranking of divisional
This
games.
is the
Um,
toughest one.
yeah, these
Not a lot of
are
juice here.
these are gross. Also, just looking at their graphic here, every other team was kind enough to put the divisional games like first. You know what I'm saying? Like in their graphic, like for home and away. The Commanders did them in a very unorganized way.
Mm,
Um,
shocker.
like here, I'm gonna send you this in Slack. Um,
Yeah, I don't even know what
and
you're
I would
talking
like
about right
I
now.
would like you to look at this right now, please. So like I'm looking at the Commanders team website to see all of their opponents so I can guess this properly, right?
Yeah.
And so it's got their home listings and their away listings. So like normally these graphics, the top three logos are the divisional opponents because like that's inherent. But like look at this, like these aren't based by division or anything. These are random. They're not even like
Oh, you're talking about the
alphabetical.
graphic, not the list below, because the list below
Right.
does do it that way.
This graphic is very unorganized.
Yeah. Yeah. Not
Like, why are
surprised.
the like this is really weird. But anyway,
All right, this isn't good for the non. This isn't good for anyone.
road road game you're most excited about for the Commanders. Maybe the Broncos. Just to kind
I,
of have fun. I really
I
don't know.
wrote Rams question mark Broncos question mark. So Rams comes from a perspective of what if the Commanders just aren't very good? Like what if they're really bad? And what if they're in the
I
mix for
think
the
that's
number one
very
pick?
likely. Yeah.
So this could be like a number one pick kind of game, which would have
Plus
juice.
Sean McVay, like
There you go.
whatever, blah blah blah. Just giving you food for thought.
So there's that, and I don't know. Yeah, I did pick the Broncos question mark next. I don't know why. I guess because of Russ, our guy, going up against a team that had interest in him.
Also, the team Ron Rivera lost his Super Bowl to.
There you go. But I don't know. I don't know. Not a lot. Not a lot
Yeah,
there
I,
to me.
I almost went Atlanta. That's we don't know
But why?
Atlanta's. Well, hear me out. We don't know Atlanta's quarterback situation. Like, are they really going to do this Desmond Ritter thing? Are they really going to trade for Ryan Tannehill? Do you know who Desmond Ritter's backup is?
Uh, yeah, Heineke. Yeah.
Taylor Heineke. What if there's a world where Taylor Heineke has to start and
Mm.
like it'd be fun.
Is that
It'd be
exciting?
interesting.
I think you could
No.
sell me more on Ritter versus Howell, kind of being like if they both prove to be a little
Um,
bit better than people expect. It's later in the season and they're like kind of on the rise, but that's a far. I mean, maybe one of those two guys hits, but I'm not even really buying that for either of them.
I have the answer for home game they have that I'm at least
Hmm.
personally most interested in.
Yeah.
It's my team. It's the Chicago Bears. And this goes back to I think we did it a year ago. The what if episode about the Doug Peterson throw game. Had
Hmm.
Washington lost that game, not won the NFC East in 2020, they would have been in position to draft Justin Fields during the 2021 NFL draft, obviously, after he started to slide. When the Bears traded up with the Giants at 11th overall, that we think we don't know the hypothetical draft order, but they would have been right around there. They could have had their quarterback of the future. I know you're still a little bit out on Justin Fields. He performed well in some capacities, obviously this past season. So there's
If
a question
you
mark around him as a whole.
only
This
follow
is
his games through highlights and Twitter, then he's the best player in the league.
so anyway. My point is this game is a look at a alternative timeline that could have been Washington's.
The way I have it phrased, I wrote down is Bears IDK. That stands for I don't know. For those who may not know that, you never know, RJ, who's listening and doesn't know the acronyms. I had it framed this way in my mind. I think people so this is, I guess, more of an early season context, and there's just this assumption, I think, that Justin Fields is going to make this big leap, and the Bears are actually going to be good. And I think if the Commanders go out and beat them, people are going to be like, "Oh, that's a legit win for the Commanders because Justin Fields and the Bears are good." So I think it's going to be a win that has people thinking it's a better win than it is if the Commanders can beat them.
I also am going to go on record and say this is Chase Young playing against his 2024 team. I think Chase Young winds up on the Bears
Wow.
in free agency next year. We know that the Commanders did not pick. I don't think we talked about that, that they declined his 5th-year option, which isn't shocking. I know we talked about it personally, but I don't think we talked about it on the mixtape. So this is a tough scene. Also, if we're like really reaching for, things, this is Ron Rivera's former team. That's always a cool thing that he played for. Obviously, he won the Super Bowl with the '85 Bears, Super Bowl shuffle. Hey. I agree with
terrible Bears Commanders game last year on Thursday Night Football.
Right.
Carson Wentz's last start before he got benched.
Also harkens back to that. So yeah, that is it. Okay, do you want maybe my rankings from least to most interesting NFC East games?
I guess.
I mean, we don't have a ton of time, so that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe we kind of want to fly through this. Like we did your games here. Maybe we do my rankings. I think they're fair to both the Cowboys and the Eagles. I don't know if you agree. Do you want me to go least to most interesting? Do you want to offer your list? What do you want to do here?
This is your least to most.
Day. Okay, I accidentally hit the microphone. That's my bad. Okay, wow. So to be clear here, there are 12 composite games between NFC East teams, and I ranked them from least to most interesting. My least one, Commanders in New York. I really don't like, spoiler alert, like the games in New York. Like I don't enjoy any real NFC East game in New York. Like I don't, it's just lame to me. And I'm not saying that Washington has an amazing stadium, but it at least looks a little bit different on TV. Like the New York stadium's just real corporate looking. And the shocker alert, the Giants and Commanders both not exactly interesting in my opinion.
I had Eagles, Commanders, and Philly, actually. That's my bottom one. Because I just don't think there's a lot of juice in that matchup. I know the Eagles lost to the Commanders last year, but Heineke's gone. Like, I don't really know what's interesting here about that.
Number 11 to me was the same teams just in Washington. I find the game in Washington just a hair more interesting is really where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm thinking differently about this. I have the Cowboys, Commanders in Dallas. Yes. Next, because I just think like for the Eagles and the Cowboys there, I think they're going to be significant favorites over the Commanders. And I think those games have the potential to be not so competitive, where I know it's that the Giants, Commanders don't have a lot of juice in the sense that we don't expect them to be great, but I expect those games to actually be more meaningful for those teams, again, potentially competing for a wild card spot, or at least in the same kind of tier of teams, closer to that.
Yeah, we definitely did this a little bit differently to your point. I mean, I don't know. Mine is like in a general sense, but also factoring in these like the current states of the team. So for me, like to that point, number 10 was the Cowboys in New York. Like that game is like, and some of it is like the Cowboys have like owned the Giants. The Cowboys they haven't lost to the Giants with Dak Prescott since 2016. You know what I mean? Like he completely owns them. That's really where this is at.
I have the Commanders in all of my top 6 on this list of 12. There's any kind of Commanders matchup it has to be.
You mean the bottom 6?
Yeah, my bottom 6. Well, I mean top 6 in terms of the worst.
So for me, then like right above that, or so like also not interesting is the Commanders in Philadelphia. That is kind of a sneaky, interesting game to me, especially I think it's like that was the first loss of the season last year for the Eagles. So like there's this slight little like fly buzzing around you level of annoyance.
Yeah, but Heineke, like, if it's a different quarterback, like, it's just I don't know. I think you kinda took out the dynamic there that was
Mm.
interesting because I think Heineke is a big reason why they won that game.
Imagine if he had still been the quarterback for the team and he walked like the pregame fit and he walked in with the Jordans. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
That he bought the green and black ones. That'd be really cool.
So all the Commanders in my bottom, I have Eagles, Commanders, and Landover being more interesting than Philly just
Okay, let's
because
do let's scrap this. Let's do your
Commanders are done.
top four most interesting NFC East games. Let's do
Alright,
that. So number
starting
four, we're
with
gonna
number
go in
4.
ascending order. Yeah,
I actually had, um, Cowboys, Giants in Dallas because I think it's been forever since the Giants have this big win over the Cowboys, and I think maybe it could actually find last year, I was gonna thought it was gonna happen last year, it didn't, right? I feel like this is the year they finally get one.
that was the Thanksgiving Day game last year.
Yeah,
The
they
one
came
in
close,
Dallas.
right? Like, these games were competitive, they came
Um,
down to the wire, I think they're about to steal one.
it didn't come down to the wire, and Micah Parsons wasn't used as much in that game, which again was it was a little touch and go early on, but it didn't come down to the wire.
They were
Um,
competitive, though, at least a lot more
once upon
competitive than they usually are.
Once upon a time, and I know you know this, this was the week one Sunday Night Football opener every year in a row. So we'll see what happens there. I do have this as my number three game, so not number four. I do think it has a little bit more juice to your point. My number four, while we're at it, is the Eagles versus the Giants in Philly, though. This is, call it revenge, right? This is the playoff rematch,
Mhm.
technically speaking, from, the exact setup, in Philly, whatever. And to the point we just made, the Giants are more competitive. So if they can go to Philly, win there for the first time, and I don't even know how. Oh, not even. It was what 2 years ago, the Joe Judge game. So
It
yeah,
wasn't in
I'll
Philly.
Oh, okay. Well, still, I don't know the last time they won in Philly, but still, I have Giants in Philly as my number four, Giants in Dallas as my number three.
I think it may have been 2013. I'm not sure off the top of my head. It's been a long time, I feel like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have Eagles, Giants, and Philly as my number 3 because of the playoff kind of rematch there. That's all I've
So
got.
then we have the same three and four, just flip flopped.
Yep,
Okay,
and then
so
we have
I
the
think
same 1 and 2
we have the same one and two,
in some
both
order.
Cowboys Eagles games. Yeah. So which one is more interesting in your mind? What location?
I think in Dallas because I think it's been a while since the Eagles have won in Dallas. It hasn't been since 2017, right?
The Super Bowl season, the Sunday night blowout game was the last time.
Yeah. Jerry
Was
Jones
just
retirement
so
or not retirement, Hall of Fame, whatever.
is Hall of Fame honoring at halftime. Yeah. Just the irony behind that is amazing.
I think it has to be that because, yeah, it's been a while, and we've gotten some really good games there. Think back to the 2016 overtime game. Obviously, the Brandon, if you're going way back, the Brandon Boykin interception at the end of the 2013 season, the overtime game in 2015 with Sam Bradford. There's been some really good. I think there's been better Eagles Cowboys games in Dallas, so I'm going to continue
That
with
was
that
my
trend.
logic. So that's my number one as well. Also that like you mentioned, so there was overtime in 16 or 15. That was Sunday Night Football.
Hmm.
And there was overtime in 16. That was the Jason Witten touchdown where like nobody covered him. And then there was overtime in 18. That was the Amari
Yeah,
Cooper walk off after the tip pass.
so lucky.
Um,
It just
right, but
bounces
I mean,
off. Still does. Yeah, I know, but
so
I'm just saying, like,
but like my
it's a
logic
great
behind this
bounce
was
for
like
him.
we've mentioned this a million times. The Cowboys games in Philly have kind of been stinkers. Like, and it's not the
Oh, because
Cowboys'
part of them
fault or
are,
the
like, in
Eagles'
week
fault.
17, yeah,
Well, that's what I'm
week
saying. Like,
18.
I'm not blaming the teams. I'm blaming the circumstances. Like, and
Yep,
some of the circumstances have been the timing of them that they've taken place in Week 17. Some of
mhm,
them have been injuries. Right in 2020, it was Ben DiNucci who had to start at quarterback because even
mhm.
Andy Dalton wasn't able to go. Obviously, this past season it was Cooper Rush. So, like generally speaking, the game at AT&T Stadium has a history of being, more riveting. Although, again, you can't bank on that. But for those reasons, I went with Dallas versus Philly at AT&T Stadium, and plus it just feels epic. Like it's like a show. It's like it's a big old deal. So yeah, I that's my answer. Cowboys Eagles is the most interesting. Those are the two most interesting games. But the one I want these games to both
Who could have
matter.
guessed? We would have picked those.
I want to see Dak Jalen twice. That's what I want to see. I want
Yeah,
to see that badly.
we all do.
We've seen it once, and it was actually at AT&T Stadium. the Monday night game in 2021 where Dallas housed them. Obviously,
Right.
that was
But that
before
was also,
Jalen.
like, a very different Jalen Hurts. It was a very different team.
Well,
Like,
I'm
the
just
20
saying, in the one time it happened, they housed them and they
Yeah, I'm
destroyed
not
Jalen
saying
Hurts.
the Cowboys don't deserve credit. I'm just saying, like, the Eagles changed so much in the course of that season from who they were at the beginning of 2021 to the end, and then obviously since then. So yes, and again, the best way to do this, in part, would be to guarantee a game between these two teams in Week 1. I mean, in theory, I guess someone could get hurt in training camp or whatever, but like, you'll take that over versus they could get hurt during the season, and it just might be a situation where the seating is all locked up. So like, just get rid of that part. That's so
I
dumb. Why do you want that to be a factor?
I like 85% agree with you. My only thing is like, so in 2015, the Cowboys opened the season at home against the Giants and then visited Philly in week 2. That was the game that Tony Romo got hurt. And I hated, and they won both those games, but I hated that, like, you're talking about a third of your divisional games are in weeks 1
Yeah.
and 2. Like, that is not cool to me. So like, I get your point from an entertainment standpoint, but like, part of what made the Cowboys Eagles game at AT&T Stadium last year so juicy was that, like, so many things had happened. You know what I mean? Like the status of the game was so epic, and like you don't have that as much at the beginning of the season. So
Well,
like,
you could put one late in the year. I'm not
no,
saying
I'm not
like,
saying like put them both like weeks 14 and 17,
but
but
yeah, do
like,
it like
how about
four.
week 6? Week 10.
Mm,
Like that's what I want them like kind of. I want one in October and I want one like late November. That's the perfect situation in my mind.
or early December. Yeah, I think there needs to be one in Week 1 also because of, like, think back to what I said earlier. Oh no, we're worried about, putting Eagles Cowboys in Week 1 because we're gonna like blow a chance at good ratings. But you're okay with having it be a meaningless game like that because there's a decent chance that could happen based on history because that continues to happen. Like, that's okay, but you can't, waste it early in the year, but you can waste it at the end of the year. How does that make any sense?
I agree with you. Again, there's a lot of things to consider, but ultimately we want an
It's been
entertaining.
20 years. Just do it. Wait, we can't do it 1 year? So I don't say to do it every year. We've had Eagles, Washington. We've had Giants, Cowboys, like, so many times since then. We can't get one Eagles, Cowboys? Come on.
Um, okay. So let's get out of here and let's last question predict the season opener for Cowboys and Eagles. I predicted Cowboys in LA against the Chargers. That's my prediction.
Cowboys, Chargers in LA. I'm gonna say Eagles play at home because if it's true they're gonna play against the Chiefs in week
Right.
2, probably not. You're gonna make them the team that went to the Super Bowl play both of their first games on the road. That seems a little much. Uh It's gonna probably be like stupid like Washington game again because they always do that.
Eagles,
Eagles,
Commanders.
Commanders in Philly.
Sam Howell's first career win in Philly. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Brandon, as we leave, tell us your 3 favorite teams from New York. It can be any sport.
It's not a real thing. I would like to hear from the listeners on doing the live show call-in thing. I think we should do that. 3 favorite teams from New York, that's not a real thing at all. If I have to pick my, like, least hated New York teams,
There we go. 3 least hated.
um, I think I've gotten into this before. I don't hate the Yankees as many Philly fans do because I grew up near the Trenton Thunder. That was their Double A affiliate at the
Gotcha.
time. So, like, I would go and get to see some Yankees players. So, like, I don't know. I'm rooting for their minor league players when I went to the game.
Okay.
So there's that. The Jets, because they're so harmless, they've never beaten the Eagles. They're just like, you don't take them seriously. They're just
Right.
like, oh, it's cute. The Jets, haha.
That's how like that's a great way to put it because like that's how I feel about the Bills. Like the Cowboys beat the Bills in back-to-back Super Bowls, so like they
See,
can't hurt me. You know what I mean? Like it's totally.
and
Yeah.
the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and
Right.
Jets and Eagles fans can both agree that they don't like the Giants. And then I guess, like, I'm trying to think. The third one's
So
a
this is
little
technically
tough.
your most favorite team from New York.
That's not true. I don't like the Islanders. I don't like the Rangers. I don't like. I guess. Would you count the Devils? I know they're from. They play right.
No,
They play
no.
right next to the
Their
Giants.
name is New Jersey.
They play right
Their
next
name
to
is
the
New Jersey.
Giants, though,
I
and the
know, but their
Jets.
name is New Jersey. That you
Okay.
can't count them.
I don't think the Nets. Is there a team I'm like not think? I guess. Oh, well, this is easy. I should have said Bills, obviously, too. I didn't count them. It's too late now, but I'll say the Sabers, Buffalo Sabers.
Okay, I'm gonna send you one last thing that I want your thoughts on. It is a tweet
Oh my gosh.
um, about with Spider-Man, the new Spider-Verse movie coming out, Burger King has launched or is going to be launching. This is not an advertisement. A Whopper where the buns are red, like
I
Miles
saw this.
Morales. Would you eat this, or do you have like a mental complex about this?
So the Buffalo Sabres used to have a black and red theme that I actually
Wow,
liked a
what a
lot.
great tying of this since you just said that.
Um,
Wow.
so I actually did like that, and I used to play with them in NHL '98 for my old computer. So that's another reason I don't mind them as much. But for this burger, I'm so disappointed when a place does a gimmick and there's no actual change to like the food. Like I looked this up
Mm,
because my friend Bon, shout out Bon, sent this to me, and I was like, okay, so what's like the? Is there a different like sauce or flavor or like ingredients? And no, it's
it's
literally
just the
just a
bun.
red bun. Although I
Yeah.
think I saw the cheese is Swiss instead of American or whatever. But like, okay, now I will say I'm not deterred, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try it because there's nothing interesting about it. But when the Burger King did do the Halloween Whopper, which they had like this orange bun for that, they actually it was like the ghost pepper Whopper or whatever. They actually like made the bun spicier than a normal bun, and they also had like bacon on there and maybe jalapeno. Like they actually did things that made it like a gimmick of a burger, and that one was good. But this one is lame. Sorry, Burger King.
Yeah, this is like when they made ketchup green when we were kids. You know what I mean? But like it was cool because we were kids. You know what I'm saying? Like I will try this because I'm a big Spider-Man fan, big Spider-Verse fan. But like I'm a little bit disappointed to your point.
Well,
All
give us
right.
the review once you do.
Yeah. Let's get out of here. Congratulations to Red Burgers.